Let's now go over two examples about how you can build from scratch aggregated object structure, which simply build aggregation links. And in the next part, we'll actually speak about how you can navigate among the links, one step at a time. So let's say the first one, we're going to look at just this simple aggregation. Remember, this empty diamond shape points to the container. So the container course contains a single faculty object as its prof. Right? That's how we what we said in the earlier video. I'm just want to review very quickly together with you. Let's assume the two classes like this. So we got a class called course, which got string title and also the single valued reference type prof. So that's the containee. And we got a constructor which will simply initialize the string title for the course, and also we can set a prof, right, to be the parameter, and we can definitely talk about call by value. We can review that very briefly when we trace the code. And we can also return the prof attributes by getting the prof, right, public accessor. And for the faculty class, the containee, we actually got name, and also initialize the name for the faculty. When we first create it, we can set the name. Again, it's going to be called by value of the reference type. And also get a name. Very simple two classes, but let's see how we can build some aggregated object structure. And then we'll move on to another, the second case where we got three classes to interact with each other, one thing at a time. You will see the JUnit test in the next slide, but let me switch directly to my iPad. I already got some set up over here. Let me explain that. We got the course class, we got the faculty class, and also we got the first JUnit test case. We'll go over that line by line. I also got the templates for course and faculty ready, so I can just copy and paste to simulate how we create objects at the runtime. Okay, let's now go over the code. The first line here, we are going actually the first two lines. Let's do it this way. We're creating two course objects over here. Right, one will be advanced OOP, the other one will be software design, 2030 and 3311. Right, we got two instances of the course objects. So let me copy the course template over here. Let me put course over here, 1 and also 2. We got two instances. Let me let me maybe put them over here so I can save some space for the faculty. Okay, let's take a look what we should do. So you can see the name will be advanced OOP versus software design. At the moment, we don't have any prof, the instructor, just yet. By default, it will just be null. So what's going to happen is this course is going to be advanced OOP. Advanced OOP. And the second one, the title is going to be software design. Software design, right? The string, literal. And then one is going to be 2030 and also 3311. So we got EECS2030 and also we got EECS3311. Right, so that's about these two lines. And we're going to create one faculty objects. Let me now highlight it. So this is the line we want to create for the faculty objects, right? It's going to be of name Jackie. Let's now create one faculty objects. Okay, I'm going to put the faculty objects over here. Okay, how about right here? Okay, there's a faculty objects. Okay, just put it here. And then it's going to be a prof. Okay, so prof is pointing to this faculty objects. And then the name is Jackie. Okay, so far so good. And then we're going to execute these two lines, and here, these two lines. We're going to set a prof for 2030 and 3311 to be both Jackie. So you can see the same containee is being shared by the two containers. We'll see that. So it's going to be prof and prof. And remember call by value, right? So let me remind you very quickly. Okay, but you can see the context object is actually different, right? One is 2030, the other one is 3311, right? Let me just remind you very quickly. So you can see one of them is 2030, so that's the first one. That's the context objects, and that is the arguments. What's the corresponding parameter? It is over here. They just happen to be called prof, okay? So what should be the call by value action. Let's just remind you for this one here only. So if you remember, so from here to, from here to over here, right? Call by value. And what should be, well, in this case, it's gonna sound funny. It's going to be prof is assigned to the prof, right? But we're gonna disambiguate. Prof is assigned to prof. This prof over here actually comes from the course. It's actually come from the course dot set prof method, right? So this is actually come from there. So this is going to be course dot set prof. So that's the scope. And this prof over here on the right, on this, and over here, the prof is actually the prof from this test method over here, right? So this is a different prof. It's the test method. I'll just say test dot prof. Okay, so this is actually just be careful about the scope of the variable, which we also discussed in the earlier example. So what's going to happen is for call by value, we're going to assign prof to be the same as the prof. Okay, the orange, the prof, is going to just point to the same value over here as a prof, right? So maybe it's better for me to maybe change this color over here to be pink. So you see exactly this is the arguments, and this one over here is the parameter, right? This is a param. And this one over here is the arguments, right? Just to be 100% clear. And this one will be in the test method. And that'll be the prof, right? That's the arguments. Okay, so now if I want to execute this code, and what will be the context objects? The context object is 2030, right? So that's EECS2030. So this will be replaced by EECS2030.prof. So EECS2030.prof is going to point to wherever this prof is pointing to, which is this particular faculty, right? So let's now do that. So this prof over here is going to point to wherever the orange prof is pointing to, which is over here. Right? So far we got the container course has a single containee, which is the faculty objects as their prof. And we're gonna follow the similar logic, and for that one I will let you trace precisely, right? It's gonna be the same procedure. So for that one there is going to be the context object will be 3311 and also set a prof, and this will be, well, another argument prof, right? So this prof over here will also be the argument value over here. So I better just use the pink just to be consistent. So this prof is really the same prof, the arguments. And when we actually get to this particular one, the parameter, so now we're talking about a different scope. So the parameter is going to be the prof. So parameter is also, actually in this case, also the same prof. So you can think about the prof again is going to be here, right? Once you do the call by value. And then when we say the prof, what would that do? It's going to say context object is EECS3311. So EECS3311.prof is going to point to wherever the parameter prof over here is pointing to, which has is an alias of the argument prof, because call by value. Okay. So this one, let's now do it. So they are basically sharing this particular faculty objects over here. Okay, let's now do some assertion, and we're going to create another faculty in a moment. Let's now see. And if we say prof.setName over here, so the prof here is really the arguments that we have been talking about, right? This prof over here. So prof.setName. The setName is simply just going to actually change the name. That was easy. So we can simply set the name to be Jeff. So rather than Jackie, it's now going to be Jeff. And notice that since we are using this to modify the objects, it will be visible to the arguments prof as well. Okay. Let's now take a look at the assertion. Let's see the first one. EECS2030.getProf. EECS2030.getProf is going to follow this link, and then it's going to give you this particular faculty. Okay, and then What about EECS3311.prof? EECS3311 and then the prof is also going to refer to this particular object, right? Let me highlight a little bit more accurately. Okay, this one. So that's why they will match. Okay, so this part here will simply just be true. Let's now see the next one. What about we checking the name? 2030.getProf.getName. Okay, so 2030.getProf.getName. In that case, it's going to give you Jeff, right? So that's why it will simply be Jeff. That's why it's also pass. Let's now introduce another faculty over here. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's now do this line. Prof number 2. Okay, so prof number 2 is now going to be the arguments, right? Notice that, okay? So let's now create just another faculty object. I believe is already on my clipboard. Okay, so faculty here. Let me put a faculty here, the second faculty. And what's their name? It's going to be Jonathan. So the name will just be Jonathan. And then the reference is prof 2. And you can see prof 2 is now being used as the arguments. Let me just make a note for you. It's arguments. And now the name wouldn't be so confusing. But I would say you just have to know whenever, if the parameter name and the argument name happen to be the same, like in this case, prof and prof, you still have to know how to trace it, right? It's also so important. It's not realistic to assume they're always different. Okay, but in this case, prof 2 is the arguments pointing to this object here. So what about call by value, right? Again, let's do this very quickly. Let me see what might be the best route for me to do this. Okay, so here, you can see here, also again, call by value. Call by value, what would I do? It's going to do the parameter prof is assigned to arguments prof 2. Exactly the exercise we did earlier, right? That's going to be the call by value behind the scene. So what's going to happen is we're going to get the parameter. So parameter, let me just yeah, it's going to be purple, right? So let me just say prof over here, right? That's a parameter, and this is a param. So they are pointing to the same objects after this variable assignments. And let's now do some assertion. Oh, actually, before that, don't forget about this line, which is also very crucial. Let me use pink. 3311, that's a prof 2, right? So this one here is going to be 3311 is the course over here. We want to set a prof. Okay, if you try to execute it to set a prof, so that means currently it's going to be. Let me just highlight this line here. So this will be the thing to execute. But what would that turn out to be? Let's now be very careful over here. So now for this one, what will be the context objects? It's going to be 3311. So that means this is going to be replaced by 3311. Okay, so this is going to be EECS 3311. More precisely, we're going to say EECS 3311. The prof is assigned to prof. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And what would that be? That one is going to be, let's see, EECS dot prof assigned to wherever the prof, the argument is pointing to, right? The purple one is pointing to here. So that's why it's going to be redirected to this particular faculty. That means we're changing the instructor from Jeff to Jonathan. Let's see. So that means after executing the set prof, which will boil down into this line here. So rather than pointing to over here, right? Let me just put a star over here. Okay, the star is going to be done over here. It's now going to point to this particular faculty. That's Jonathan. Okay, once this is done, let's now take a look at the assertion. 2030.getProf. 2030.getProf is going to be here, right? 2030.getProf is referring to this object over here. 3311.getProf. 3311.getProf is referring to the redirected objects over here. Are they the same objects? They are not, right? So that's why this is not equal to is going to be false. So that's why, oh sorry, not equal to is going to be true because we're referring to these two different objects. So it's going to be true. So when you try to evaluate this, not equal to is going to be true because they are different objects. And let's see the next one. And what about 2030.getProf.getName versus 3311.getProf.getName? They are different objects, but there's a possibility they may have the same name. Let's see. 2030.getProf.getName. That one there has been changed to Jeff versus 3311.getProf.getName. 3311.getProf. Actually, let me do it again. 3311.getProf. Over here, we're referring to this faculty objects. .getName is going to be Jonathan, right? That's why you see Jeff versus Jonathan. So that's why these two will also pass. Right? It's a very simple program, but I really want to show you how you can build simple links that will actually share. You can see before we redirect this one, before we do that, you can see both courses actually have the same instructor to the same faculty objects. That's what we used to have, right? But we can also redirect them into another course instructor if we want to. That's really the nature of aggregation. Okay, let's now take a look at the next example where we're going to put three kinds of objects into play. Let's now take a look at the slides. Okay, that's something we just trace in detail. And let's now take a look at this particular design.